Welcome. Today we will be reading Lesson 8 in the workbook, and from the text, Chapter 1, Section 4, The Escape from Darkness. And now for Lesson 8. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. This idea is, of course, the reason why you see only the past. No one really sees anything. He sees only his thoughts projected outward. The mind's preoccupation with the past is the cause of the misconception about time, from which your seeing suffers. Your mind cannot grasp the present, which is the only time there is. It therefore cannot understand time, and cannot in fact understand anything. The one wholly true thought one can hold about the past is that it is not here. To think about it at all is therefore to think about illusions. Very few have realized what is actually entailed in picturing the past or in anticipating the future. The mind is actually blank when it does this, because it is not really thinking about anything. The purpose of the exercises for today is to begin to train your mind to recognize when it is not really thinking at all. While thoughtless ideas preoccupy your mind, the truth is blocked. Recognizing that your mind has been merely blank, rather than believing that it is filled with real ideas, is the first step to opening the way to vision. The exercises for today should be done with eyes closed. This is because you actually cannot see anything, and it is easier to recognize that no matter how vividly you may picture a thought, you are not seeing anything. With as little investment as possible, search your mind for the usual minute or so, merely noting the thoughts you find there. Name each one by the central figure or theme it contains, and pass on to the next. Introduce the practice period by saying, I seem to be thinking about. Then name each of your thoughts specifically. For example, I seem to be thinking about name of a person, about name of an object, about name of an emotion, and so on, concluding at the end of the mind-searching period with, but my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. This can be done 4 or 5 times during the day, unless you find it irritates you. If you find it trying, 3 or 4 times is sufficient. You might find it helpful, however, to include your irritation or any emotion that the idea for today may induce in the mind searching itself. The reason that one sees only the past, Lesson 7, is that one is preoccupied with past thoughts, today's idea. The present is the only time there is. So when one thinks about the past or future, one is actually thinking about an illusion, something that is not real. And this is why the mind is actually blank. This lesson introduces the important idea of projection, which will be expanded upon in the text and in later lessons. All perceptions are seen as thoughts in the mind that are projected outward. Thus, perception is projection. And this is the reason why, in Lesson 4, one was told that what is inward is meaningful, and what is outside is meaningless. For thoughts occurring in the mind are the origin of what is perceived as being outside oneself in the world. And now for our text reading for today. From Chapter 1, Section 4, The Escape from Darkness. The escape from darkness involves 2 stages. First, the recognition that darkness cannot hide. This step usually entails fear. Second, the recognition that there is nothing you want to hide, even if you could. This step brings escape from fear. When you have become willing to hide nothing, you will not only be willing to enter into communion, but will also understand peace and joy. Holiness can never be really hidden in darkness, but you can deceive yourself about it. This deception makes you fearful because you realize in your heart it is a deception, and you exert enormous efforts to establish its reality. The miracle sets reality where it belongs. Reality belongs only to spirit, and the miracle acknowledges only truth. It thus dispels illusions about yourself and puts you in communion with yourself and God. The miracle joins in the atonement by placing the mind in the service of the Holy Spirit. This establishes the proper function of the mind and corrects its errors, which are merely lacks of love. Your mind can be possessed by illusions, but spirit is eternally free. If a mind perceives without love, it perceives an empty shell and is unaware of the spirit within. But the atonement restores spirit to its proper place. The mind that serves spirit is invulnerable. Darkness is lack of light, as sin is lack of love. It has no unique properties of its own. It is an example of the scarcity belief, from which only error can proceed. Truth is always abundant. Those who perceive and acknowledge that they have everything have no needs of any kind. The purpose of the atonement is to restore everything to you, or rather to restore it to your awareness. You were given everything when you were created, just as everyone was. The emptiness engendered by fear must be replaced by forgiveness. That is what the Bible means by "there is no death," and why I could demonstrate that death does not exist. I came to fulfill the law by reinterpreting it. The law itself, if properly understood, offers only protection. It is those who have not yet changed their minds who brought the hellfire concept into it. I assure you that I will witness for anyone who lets me, and to whatever extent he permits it. Your witnessing demonstrates your belief, and thus strengthens it. Those who witness for me are expressing through their miracles that they have abandoned the belief in deprivation in favor of the abundance they have learned belongs to them. The attraction of guilt, we learn in this section, keeps the idea of sin alive and calls one to avenge the mistake through attack and punishment. Punishment appears to give legitimacy to sin, for what requires punishment must be true. And if it is the truth, it will be expected to reoccur again, and hence have continuity. Past sins require future punishment. Thus, past and future are linked together in a continuum of time. One is incapable of going beyond time while one believes in sin. Sin supports the unchangeability of perception and believes one must go along with what the senses give witness to, negating the mind's power to correct and heal, and thus giving outside forces in the world power over the mind.